Hey everyone, John Henry here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a trend day that failed. It's a failed trend day that turned into a range today in the market psychology video. Now, yesterday we had an okay day up, right? It wasn't exactly the most beautiful thing in the world, but it was definitely a nice bull trend at the end of the day, working its way higher, albeit a little bit kind of grindy and slow. Now, we opened up this morning with a gap higher, and that gap higher, all that managed to do was close the gap that we had from Monday, right? They came up, they filled that objective and found immediate snap resistance, and they began pushing back down. Very strong bear first candle of the day. Basically, at this point in time, a lot of buyers who bought in at the end of the day yesterday took profit, and a lot of sellers are going to see this as, oh man, we hit a bunch of objectives and the buyers are getting out. If we do end up going higher, we're still probably going to fall for a couple moves down before that happens. So sellers will definitely be selling into that first candle of the day. Now, as we always say, being the first one to the party is always kind of aggressive. You're selling the first candle of the day. It can only be so prominent. In this case, it makes a lot of sense, but if you chose to skip it, we had a beautiful move down. They paused for a little while, kind of a little flag here, if anything, and then just dunked lower. Now, that huge hammer down, there will be buyers that buy into that all day, every day. And the main reason behind that is it's too big in one move. It's a gap higher. It's the first time we're testing the moving average. It's a gap fill. There's a lot of things that are happening all in the same place, and you're going to see buyers jump in there. Now, it's important to realize what's happening, though, because we know sellers own the market. So, yeah, you can buy this, but don't expect much more than a scalp. We start pushing higher, news comes out, causes this big old kind of engulfing bull candle, and then absolutely no follow through. What happened, right? Where did the buyers go? We form a weak bear candle, they go one tick above it, and then slam down for a nice bear candle in the opposite direction. That is a trap. We have a big bull trap firing off in an area that makes sense to sell. The sellers still own the market. And if anything, we have a potential area of falling resistance now, which we are right around the high of. So we know that sellers still own the market. We need to be looking to sell. Beautiful drive to the downside, and then we hit the low of the day. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting because we hit the low of day and they closed underneath it. Nice, strong bear candle. But look at this drive down, right? Look at all of the wick on the bottom of all of these candles. And then we have a bull doji in the middle, strong bear candle, but then no follow through. Strong bear candle, no follow through. There's something wrong with the bear case. Yes, we are pushing down. Yes, the sellers own the market, but something isn't quite right here. This isn't as strong as it may look, taking a step back. They close underneath that small swing low that we formed there. That's also the low of that final 5-minute candle. And then they find a little bit of an attempted bounce. Not really a whole lot, and sellers may even try to sell underneath that depending on how aggressive they are, and it looks like they did. It went one tick underneath it, triggered them all in, and shot back to the upside. Now, that is a very bullish clue. We just failed the lows when we're already seeing a bunch of kind of funky movement in here. The sellers aren't looking that strong, and we just saw a massive failure with a trap. So now we need to wait for a little more information. Again, you could buy this, but being the first one to the party is always a little bit tough. So if you wanted to sit on the sidelines and wait, we hit the moving average. Sellers try coming in an absolutely disastrous bear candle. Nobody's going to want to sell that. And then an even weaker bear candle inside there, and that forms somewhat of a little pennant that you can see in here. And then it breaks out, slams higher with a very strong bull close. Now, that is a big clue. In context, we just saw a bunch of candles that don't really make sense for the bear case, bad continuation, bad follow through, and now we just had a massive failure out of the bottom with a trap on the lows, and when the sellers tried coming in again, they failed again, right? So everything is pointing to the upside now, and this is very likely shifting into a range day instead. What does that mean? Well, that means that the objective is back to the highs. Now, maybe this swing high, maybe this swing high, maybe the overall high. We don't know, but the overall objective is going to be back up for a run towards the highs. In this case, it hit all of them and slammed higher. Now, with this slam higher, what are we looking at? Well, we know that it's a range day, and the breakout to the downside completely fell apart. So if it tries going back up to the highs, it's probably going to do about the same thing, right? So we know that this is the high, and in terms of the breakout move, we just need to see what happens. They slam through with a hugely bullish candle. And that sometimes at the end of this extended movement is likely more exhaustion than anything else. Buyers don't have anything left in the tank. They've been buying here, they've been buying here, they bought all the way through here, probably even bought that one, and probably even bought that one. And then the follow through is bearish? Wait a minute, right? Something's wrong here. If this is a good bull breakout breaking above the high of day, we should be able to continue this drive up for a huge run higher. And it can't even continue with another bull candle after this massive breakout candle. Something's wrong, right? So that is a big clue to become a seller at these highs. And if it comes back to the highs, sell more, right? We're probably failing this breakout to the highs, and the likely objective is at least back to the halfway point of the range, if not the other side of the range, just like they did from low to high. So that's the situation that we're in right now, and that's why there's another arrow at the high here, because when it comes back to this high, you have to be interested in selling. You have to shut the whole trend sentiment of your brain off, because there is really no trend. There's a short-term trend with a big spike higher, but what a lot of professional traders and hedge funds and all the big money, what they're hoping for is that buyers are buying this, right? And they're looking for big moves up. Let's say, as an example, you did buy that. Well, when it came back to the highs, something's wrong, right? And when it tries to go back to the highs again, something's wrong. There's clues that are telling the traders that bought that to get the heck out of the way because something is not right. And that is where all of the sellers are stepping in, and they're defending this high. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not going to break higher again, but I would assume that there are going to be more sellers above a high if it makes another one. So a beautiful example of combining both technical analysis and a lot of market psychology to figure out how to trade this correctly. This is a good day to learn from because this is the type of day that will blow out a lot of new traders' accounts. So learn from a day like today and learn how to treat them. You have to treat them with respect because they do have some pretty nasty teeth sometimes. So that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you found it interesting and you learned something, and we'll see you next time.